Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, welcome, join the fam. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe and join our growing family here on YouTube. I'm so grateful to have each and every one of you. It's a really fun place here on YouTube and I've just really been enjoying it, so thank you for being a part of it. Alright, so in today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys about what life was like before America's Next Top Model. And I don't mean all the way back to my childhood, I just mean as far as my modeling career and just my experience prior to the show. I think a lot of times America's Next Top Model paints it out to seem like girls come on the show with no experience, they learn everything on the show, and then they leave and become successful models. When in reality, most of us had experience before. For example, I had about 5 years of experience. So even though the show did help me in so many different ways, I would say that I already had a lot of my modeling knowledge prior to the show. So if you guys watched the first episode of America's Next Top Model, my season, you saw that I did that interview with the judges where I basically mentioned that I had modeled in Italy, in Greece, in Singapore, etc. And they were like, so why are you here? And I was like, I really like to travel and now I'm ready to be more serious. And they did not like that answer. But whatever, they let me on the show anyways. But today I'm going to be telling you about my time in Italy and Greece and Singapore, etc., etc., and tell you about what it's like to model abroad and kind of my story prior to America's Next Top Model. So thanks for being here and let's get right into the video. So it all started when I was 16 years old and I got scouted in an art museum for a Seattle modeling agency. I was definitely interested in signing with them, but I wanted to take other meetings, so I shopped around and I ended up signing with my agency, who I am still signed with today, SMG in Seattle. They are wonderful and they are still my mother agency today. Mother agency basically means that you have one agency in your home base and they kind of help you expand, and they're basically like your mother in the modeling industry. So anyways, they're wonderful and that's how I got started. So basically I started my career there. I was doing, a lot of test shoots, growing my book, and I started working a lot. I was working for Nordstrom all the time and Fred Meyer and Reebok, and did a lot of bridal shoots and Union Bay, lots of work in Seattle. But as I neared 18 years old, it was time to start thinking about college, or, what was gonna happen after high school. So I tried a lot of different things. I thought, okay, what if I can play volleyball for a school that also has modeling, like New York or Los Angeles? So basically I toured different colleges in New York City, in like New Jersey, in Los Angeles, San Diego, because I wanted to be close to a modeling hub so I could still do it. But as a lot of people were telling me, doing full-time school, potentially sports, and modeling was just not gonna be possible. It was basically down to like, okay, you either choose college or you choose modeling. What's it gonna be? So I actually went and did college orientation at a university in Washington, in a very small rural town, and so there was gonna be no kinds of modeling out there. So I did the orientation and I was like ready to go to school, and I basically was talking with my mother agency and I said, I'm just not ready to give up on this, like let's try to make this work. We were like, okay, let's find an agency where I can sort of move forward and break out of Seattle a little bit. So we basically said, okay, let's find an agency within the next couple days or else I'm going to college. So my agency called me a couple days later and said that they had found an agency for me in Greece, which I was like, what the heck? I don't even think I'd really been out of the country other than Canada by that point. So I was like, wow. But I did it and I decided to make the move to Greece. I packed 2 huge suitcases and moved myself to Greece for what would be 5 months. So I arrived in Greece and I thought it was really cute at the time, but looking back, this model apartment was probably like the worst one I ever stayed in. Model apartments are just where the agencies house their models so that they can live cheaply, and basically the rent comes out of our paid jobs. So it's really easy for us to live and work and we don't have those upfront costs of rent. So I walk in and there's 1 bedroom over there with 2 beds in it. And then I walk into the kitchen and there's the kitchen, there's the little dining area for us, and then there's a bed in the kitchen. Whatever. I have seen a lot of bad ones, so a bed in the kitchen I guess is, expected for one of these apartments. But anyways, I made my way out to the balcony and oh my god, that's when I just fell in love with Greece. We had this huge terrace looking out into the city of Greece and we could see the ocean and it was just amazing. So that kind of made it all worth it. But I was the first one to the apartment, so I got to choose. Do I want to be in the actual bedroom with another girl, or do I want to have my own space but be in the kitchen? And I ended up choosing the frickin' kitchen bedroom. So those two other girls who got the 2 beds in the bedroom ended up becoming really close friends of mine, and one of them is still one of my closest friends. I know all of her family. She even has my dog that I had to give up, and she took him over, and we're still like family. So that is just so crazy how the modeling industry and traveling abroad brought me with some of the people that I am closest with today. So basically I was working in Greece. I actually booked quite a bit of stuff because Greece, of all the countries I've worked in, isn't as strict with your body. And I know that might sound crazy, like you're so thin, but a lot of models are much thinner than me. And Greece actually embraces a bit more full body, if that makes sense. So I booked a lot of work actually, and some of it was like these weird, slightly off brands. Like it would be Vogue eyewear and then it would be like Greece underneath, and I'm like, what? And I knew I wasn't booking Vogue eyewear because they would probably shoot in New York, but I was like, okay, this is cool. And I still got some really awesome images out of it. I went home with a full portfolio and almost zero cash, because pretty much all the work that you do goes towards paying your rent, paying for your book, the website, whatever else. So I went home with like $400, but you know what? If I got all of my expenses paid and I went home with $400, I'd say that was worth it to live abroad for 5 months. Okay, so also in Greece was the first time I learned about the promoter scene. And if you're a model, I would never really recommend doing this. It's not really like a good scene to get involved with, but in Greece it was actually okay, but in the States it's kind of edgy sometimes. But basically, Greece was the first time I'd ever even heard of a promoter. I was like, what is that? And some people told me, oh, they just, you know, throw parties and invite people. And I was like, okay. I had no idea what it actually encompassed. And basically, it's these guys who get paid by the venue to bring pretty girls around, like us models, and they get paid per person that they bring. And in return, we get a free dinner, free drinks, we get to go to these gorgeous parties and clubs, and I was 18, and so I hadn't even like really drank before, so this was a whole new world to me. And I kind of learned that, okay, if I go and party for a little bit, I can also get free dinner, and that's how I met a lot of new people. So in Greece, it was actually quite an amazing experience. I had a really nice time, but in other countries, it's not the same. So I wouldn't recommend models get involved in that scene, but in Greece, it was amazing. And it was my first experience with it, so it seemed like extra magical. All right, I'm starting to fear that this is gonna be a long video, but we'll deal with it. All right, so moving on to Italy. After Greece, I went back to Seattle and was living with my parents again for just a short amount of time. And then I basically called up my agency and I was like, yeah, that was fun. We're gonna have to do that again. So I was like, let's find another agency abroad and try that again. I mean, it was so much fun. I was basically traveling for free, essentially, and getting to model and meet amazing people along the way. They even cover our flights usually, so it was just such a cool way to see the world. So I was like, let's do this again. So the next agency that I got was in Milan, Italy. And for me, this was like huge because I'd never modeled in a really big market. You know, I'd never been to New York or LA for modeling. I'd never been to Milan or Paris. So this was really exciting news. And I signed with a really great agency there, Major Models, which I'm sure you guys have heard of if you follow the modeling industry. It's a pretty big one, so I was stoked. So when I first arrived, this is crazy. One of the friends that I had met in Greece, she lived downstairs in our apartment building. We were in contact and texting, and I was like, I just got to Milan, I got signed here, I'm so excited. And she's like, oh my gosh, I just got to Milan, crazy, that's amazing, congrats. And I was like, what's your agency? And she told me, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm with Major, blah, blah, blah. So I said, where are you living? And she's like, I'm living right in the city center at, I don't remember what the cross streets were, but she's like, this and this. And I was like, I'm living there. And I like picked up the phone to call her, and I was like, oh my God, where are you? Come outside. And we both open our doors, and we're like one apartment away from each other, and we were like, ah, and we ran to each other and hugged, and it was just such a special moment. This friend that I had made in Greece was here in Italy with me at the same time again, so it was just so special. Great way to start the trip. And then I went to go see my agency the next day or whatever, and It was like exactly how you would imagine if you haven't been to Italy. I mean, it was in this gorgeous old building that looked like a freaking museum, but I walked in and it was a modeling agency. So I met with them and, you know, the usual, they told me to lose weight and whatnot. And Milan is definitely where my body insecurities started to develop, and it was just full of a lot of very slim girls who are doing the high fashion stuff and smoking and not eating, and my agency just constantly telling me to lose weight. So that was definitely a difficult place to be as far as like body image goes, but we made it through. And if you want to hear more about that, I have another video, I'll link it here, that you can watch and hear about, you know, kind of my body image struggles and how I got out of that. It's nothing crazy, but I was trying to lose weight severely while I was living there. Okay, so I met with my agency and I was all excited, woohoo! Got my comp cars and I was ready to work, and I forgot to mention the model apartment in Milan. So this one had way more girls than my last apartment in Greece. So basically it was 2 floors, and one bedroom had 2 sets of bunk beds, another bedroom had 2 beds, then the downstairs bedroom had 4 beds right next to each other. This place was crammed. So basically, yeah, that's 10 girls in a 3-bedroom apartment. And that means 1 fridge, you know, 1 bathroom, literally 1 bathroom, 1 TV, 1 couch, you know, so we were just so crammed. And I didn't spend much time inside that apartment. I was always trying to get out because it was just so crammed. That one was so funny too, because I had several Russian roommates, and I did everywhere I went. I always had Russian roommates. There's just a lot of Russian models, but they are, I don't know if all Russians are like this, but the ones that I lived with were very edgy and like, you know, straightforward, a little bit rude. And basically, like I said, we all share a fridge, so food like gets stolen and people get confused who's who, and some people take other girls' food. And so when that starts to happen, it was the Russian girls who put these notes all over the fridge like, do not take my food. Whoever did that, I'm telling the agency, you're gonna die. Like, such crazy messages that they left on the fridge in like very broken English. And I was always taking pictures of those and sending it to my family and stuff, like, oh my god, these girls are nuts. I really didn't have too many groceries. I was always like just grabbing a little bite to eat while I was out. I mean, I was in Italy, for God's sake, so I was eating a lot of food out on the streets. So this trip was filled with more promoters. These ones were just different though. This is where I learned that a lot of girls do drugs and, you know, do a lot of weird things in the party scene, and I just like wasn't ready for it. So a lot of the other girls told me to look out for these certain promoters who kind of like, you know, used girls a little bit and like just had a very unhealthy environment and were very drug oriented, and I did avoid those ones. But I did find a really amazing family type of environment through a promoter in Italy. This one was a bit older and just had his shit together, you know what I'm saying, and treated us all amazing, and we went out to wonderful dinners and out dancing, and it was great. And again, just another way to eat for free and make new friends. So this was definitely a place where you could have got roped into a really bad lifestyle, a very unhealthy, dangerous lifestyle, but I ended up finding a group that was really great for me. And again, it was just so weird to me that I was like able to get all this free crap as a model, like you just are. They even have things called model lounges, which is where if you bring your comp card, you can get like free lunch at restaurants, you can get free gym memberships. So I just was being exposed to kind of the privilege that we have in Europe as models. It was really crazy and overwhelming. I'd never experienced anything like that before, but that's just kind of how it was. So as far as the modeling goes, this was a really cool city to be in because I was actually going on castings for brands that I knew, you know, Gucci, Prada, like skincare brands, all these big names that I had heard of, Coach, blah, blah, blah. They all kind of came through Milan. And I realized that the girls who actually got the job were just flown in from New York, so I don't even know why we were at those castings. But occasionally I booked one and I got a lot of good images from Milan, and it was overall a great experience. I was still able to make all of my expenses, and again, I went home with like very little money, but it was a free few months vacation essentially with some modeling on the side. I also learned quite a bit of Italian, which was really fun, and still a language that I would love to master. It's just so hard to learn when you're not actually living there. You learn at like hyper speed when you go and live somewhere. All right, so about 3 months into Milan, I decided that it was time to switch it up and I wanted to go to somewhere new. So the other girls were telling me to go to Istanbul, Turkey, because that's where you go to get a lot of editorials. So you can work for like Marie Claire Istanbul or Elle Istanbul, Vogue Istanbul, and you actually get a lot of really good tear sheets, which are just like tear sheets out of magazines. I unfortunately did not have such luck when I arrived. The jobs that I booked, I was in like full traditional Turkish wear. I was always on these shoots where nobody spoke an ounce of English. They were for unknown brands, you know, mostly traditional Turkish clothing, as I said, and it just didn't feel as professional and I didn't feel as comfortable there. I didn't feel as connected to it as I did Milan, so I decided that I was gonna go back to Milan. So with my last 2 days in Istanbul, I just explored the whole place and it turns out it is such a beautiful city, such good food, such kind people. You just have to be careful and aware, of course, if you're traveling there by yourself, but same with anywhere. It wasn't any more dangerous than anywhere I had ever been. So I actually went away from Istanbul with a great taste in my mouth from that trip. But work-wise, it was not for me, so I went back to Milan, spent another 3 months there or something, so I ended up being there about 6 months, I think, and that's why I was able to learn a decent amount of the language, and I just loved it there. Honestly, it's one of my favorite places in the world. It's always where I say I could live if I had to live somewhere abroad. I got to travel to the countryside and do shoots all over Italy. I ended up meeting some people who had a boat, so we got to go on like these boat trips. I went to the Grand Prix twice. I mean, I just loved it there. It felt like I was on a celebrity's vacation. I mean, it was just wonderful. And I also worked a lot, modeled a lot, grew my portfolio, and just felt like I was really doing it. So eventually I had to end my time in Milan. I was thinking about friggin' staying there for years and years because I loved it so much. But I went back to Seattle and decided it was time to try the Asian market. Warning, girls, if you're trying to model in Asia, they are extremely strict with your body. They want you to be teeny tiny. They even asked for the measurement like around my arm and around my thighs, which are really weird measurements. Usually they just ask for height, bust, waist, hips, but they were asking for every little tiny measurement. And basically everyone said no to me. China, Japan, Korea, everybody said no, but an agency in Singapore said yes. So like I said, they're just really strict on your body there, and I was like too big for a lot of jobs, but I did book a lot of bridal, so I was just doing bridal work, I guess. Like I always joke about on my Instagram, I've been married like 50 times by now. But yeah, this agency was quite weird. They were always on me about my weight. She just couldn't understand why I couldn't be skinnier. She asked me to use whitening cream to lighten my skin. She told me not to go out into the sun. She told me not to eat pineapples because they have too much sugar. She said the only fruit you can touch is papayas. She said don't eat unless you're absolutely starving, and then, you know, have something small. I mean, this lady was just like crazy. I just really couldn't take it. I mean, she was just on me all the time about my weight, and it was becoming a very unenjoyable place to be. But this trip, I did meet one of my best friends in the world, Miriam, and we have seen each other all over the world, and I'm really grateful that that came out of that trip. But basically, Singapore was mostly fun and just completely discouraging as far as the modeling goes. I really booked like almost nothing, and it was just kind of a fail. So after that, I was basically like, I'm ready for a little vacay. I met somebody who lived in Thailand, and they said that they would have my friend that I made there, Miriam, they would have us both stay at their place, and we could just explore Thailand and get to crash at their place, and it was great. So I ended up staying there like almost 2 months, maybe 1 month, I don't really remember, but I just loved it. I stayed in Bangkok and got to, you know, eat the street food, go to the parties. I got to go to all the different shows and whatnot. It was really a lot of fun, and I'm glad I had a friend there to kind of like keep me safe, because Bangkok is crazy for sure. But while I was in Thailand, I also have some family who live in the north, in Udon Thani, if you've ever heard of that. So I went to go visit them, which was a crazy experience, really cool, like completely different culture that I had never experienced. So Thailand was just amazing. But after that trip, as fun as it was, I decided it was time to get more serious about modeling again and move to a bigger modeling hub. So I decided to move to LA, and I live in LA now, but this was a long time ago that I first lived here. So I moved to LA, and basically I got signed, I was working, I was doing okay, things were going all right, but it just wasn't clicking, and I was just like getting kind of depressed because the last few markets that I had worked in weren't working out, and so I was just like, what is going on? I'm at a bit of a loss here. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if I like modeling anymore. What's going on? So I pack up my bags and move back to Seattle to live with my family and kind of figure out life. And that, in my confusion, was when I found out that I would get to go on America's Next Top Model. And if you want to know how I got on the show, I have a whole video about that. I'll link it here. But basically, when I got that call, everything sort of started to make sense. And, you know, I went on the show and then moved to New York, and then I've been modeling ever since, and everything just made sense. There's my not so short story of my modeling career before America's Next Top Model. That was like a mouthful. My throat's starting to hurt from talking so much, but hope you enjoyed it. I feel like I should write a book or something so that I don't forget these things and I can tell my grandkids one day. Maybe I'll make a scrapbook, I don't know. But yeah, the modeling industry is crazy, between, you know, dealing with promoters and a lot of social pressures to dealing with body image and pressure to lose weight, from dealing with modeling apartments and living in these crazy conditions, and then finding work and actually being a working model, meeting friends from all over the world. I mean, gosh, it was such a whirlwind. I'm so grateful. I'm glad that I did it when I was 18 because I don't think I would have like the patience or strength to do it now. I definitely want to continue traveling, but I don't think I could do it in the way that I did last time. So I'm glad I did that when I was young, and yeah, what an experience. So hope that was an interesting enough story for you. Thanks for joining me on this video, and I'll see you guys very soon again for another video. Thanks for watching my YouTube videos. Makes me happy. I know I don't get that many views yet, but thanks for watching and sticking around. We're only gonna grow on here, and love you guys. See you soon. Bye.